You're probably wondering just what the hell the anti-endurance theory is. You see, in the running world there's a common belief that running fast is the key to success, and that running slow, well, makes you slow. But we're here to challenge that notion and introduce you to a different perspective. In this video, Shona and I will share a success story that defies the conventional wisdom that we witnessed firsthand. Stick around too, because later in the video we will challenge your volume of running belief.
As Ntutu mentioned, we have a few success stories of people using really good easy runs to good success in their running. I'm going to focus on two particular success stories here. The first one is from Steve. Steve ran a race and he ran it really, really well. But the part I want to highlight is where he says, I only joined Coach Perry a couple of months ago, but I've already seen huge gains in performance. I think the benefits to date have been the adaptation to easy running pace and the strength training. All the easy runs have taught me to run comfortably at a slower pace, but maintain good form. Importantly, it's given me the mental permission to run at a slower target race pace. Conversational, uphill and down, saving energy for later in the race. The second one is from Eileen, and I absolutely love this one. So Eileen says, she's with her third cycle through a Coach Perry plan. She started with a sub 55-minute 10K plan, and at that point she was already struggling to even run 5 miles. She says though, as I've gone through this past year, I can now run up to 8 miles and have learned the beauty of the easy run. My easy paces are increasing as I'm able to keep my heart rate lower, and my speed on interval days has been improving. Before we get started, let's just clarify what we mean by anti-endurance theory. Ntutu, can you take that away?
Okay, so basically, if you think about how we look at running, it's often this idea that slow running makes you slow. And you often hear about junk miles. I don't like that phrase. Junk miles seems to be a blanket all case for all that's bad in running, and it tends to apply mostly to easy running. And that people often think you can just take out easy runs out of the program if you're struggling to make it better. So anti-endurance is this idea that slow runs make you slow, therefore you can take them out and replace them with fast running, and to get better we must run faster. But what we see constantly through clients, looking at elite athletes and in our own personal experiences, that it's actually not true.
Maybe if I can ask you to go into a little bit more detail on that, and why is easy running so important?
So easy runs are a very, very critical component of a training plan. They achieve two things. The first thing is in actually building fitness. So easy runs are comfortable. The idea of easy here is you hear about zone 2 running or easy run pace, like it's a certain percentage of your race pace. But the whole idea is that you're keeping running easy and conversational. The idea here is that you can accumulate a lot of time on feet at this easy run pace. The faster you run, the intensity goes up and you fatigue much quicker, and you can do a less volume of that running. Easy runs allow you to accumulate time on feet. You use easy run pace for your long runs too, so you can build volume at that. But at the same time, they also serve as good in-between training. So in between your interval sessions or between long runs and hard sessions, easy runs allow you to recover. So you're actually training and recovering, and that recovery is both a mental and a physical refresh. And of course, as important as easy runs are, they're not the only component of a training plan. So if easy runs aren't the be-all and end-all, what else is there to add to a plan? Yeah, that's exactly it, Ntutu. Everyone always thinks when we say this, easy runs are so important, that we're saying that that is the only thing that they should be doing, and that's not the case. We, in order to improve some aspects of your running, we do need to incorporate different sessions, some intervals, some slightly faster sessions as well. But those sessions are extremely taxing, as you mentioned, and taxing mechanically and physiologically as well. And so if you only do a lot of those, you will really struggle to recover between your sessions. And so we want to get a good balance between the easy and the higher intensity running. And that is exactly where the benefit of the easy runs come in. Because these higher intensity runs are so taxing, it's really good to have those easier runs so that you can essentially recover in time to do those higher intensity runs. I think a word I've heard you use here is to compare to having bandwidth.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect. Yeah, thanks for that. It is. A lot of people are doing their easy runs a little bit too fast, right? Which means that when they come to doing their higher intensity runs, they don't have the capacity to really get to as fast as they need to. But if they slow those easy runs down, they essentially have so much more bandwidth to get to those higher intensity paces. So you're not only doing your higher intensity work even better, but you're allowing your body more capacity to do those runs because you're running your easy runs easy enough.
And to further extend the point, I think I want to bring up a concept here that we talk about called the moderate pace rut. And that's exactly what you're talking about here, that as you do those easy runs quicker and quicker, you essentially become one-paced. So we have a case of people are one-paced on the slow end, and that's not good. But if you're doing everything faster, You want to be hitting those sessions if you're doing speed sessions, like fast repeats up here. But if you start pushing these paces up, everything narrows down, and eventually you find yourself with very little variation between your slowest runs and your fastest runs, and then you're not recovering. Like, every day is going to be a struggle, and you just find that you essentially end up plateauing. You end up going through this whole process where it's a grind, and your body can't keep up physiologically. You're not recovering, your muscle stays sore, and then your performance starts to dip. Because I think now that we've established that easy runs are good for you, but as we said, they're not the only piece of the puzzle. You've got to do a little bit of faster running. The next step is then, how do you progress the training forward?
You're right, Ntutu, and we need to do that by increasing our volume of training. And the way we do that, or the effective way we do that, is by using the easy run. By doing the runs easy enough, you're allowing your body the capacity to increase that volume. If you're doing what you're saying in that moderate sort of zone, you run the risk of injury, but you're never actually going to get to that full capacity of volume that you want to get to. And I think you said this to me once, which I absolutely love, is that too much intensity comes at the expense of recovery, which will come at the expense of volume. So you're really just not winning all round.
And I think if we look at training load, a high intensity session is a high training load session in a small volume. And because you can't reproduce these sessions as frequently as easy runs, it's limited how many you can do. So if you are stacking 3 or 4 high intensity sessions in a week, you're limiting how much work you can do in that given time.
But it's not just about throwing volume in, right? I mean, we're not just going to suddenly take Kipchoge's plan and hit 100 miles or 160 Ks a week. It's about progression, right?
So this is the thing, we always say less is more, but less is more isn't saying do less. It just means that where you are right now, there's a sweet spot for you as an athlete, your level of fitness, what you can do. Anyone can go out there and run 160 Ks a week. You really can. Go out and do it for 1 week, do it for 2 weeks, and then see what happens. But where you are right now, you need to be able to progress. Let's say you're running 30, 40 Ks a week. Make a small adjustment. You don't need to go out and double your volume. Make a small adjustment for that little period, and then sustain that slight increment over time. A small increment over 12 or 18 weeks in a training plan can pay huge dividends later on. So the idea then is that we want you to build up over time, and you do this by increasing your volume of easy running in the context of your entire plan. And this way you find that at the end of that period, let's say you can do this over three or four cycles, you will build incredible fitness and your capacity to do more work.
Is there a certain sweet spot that you think that for individuals, and don't give a blanket approach, but is there a sweet spot for people?
So what I always say is try and do the least amount of work you can do at that time to achieve the max results. We're not doing a maximization project, we're doing an optimization project. And that's the key thing, is that, that's why we say less is more. You're not saying do as little as possible. In this particular moment, you have a range you can go on. If I say to you, run 80 Ks a week or 90 Ks per week, the results will be the same. What would you do?
Yeah, exactly. You just go for the lesser of the two. Yeah.
Exactly. So the sweet spot, it's where you are right now. You figure out where you were. So I like to say, take where you were in your last training cycle, do a post-mortem of where you are, and look at your average mileage over that period, and honestly assess, could you handle that volume? Could you not? Were you feeling comfortable? And then, I mean, I don't believe in hard and fast rules like the 10% rule, whatever, but you want to look at progressing each of your sessions a little bit at a time to do a little bit more work. And over a week, 1 or 2 Ks or 1 or 2 miles in a session over the week amounts to a lot. And over 12 weeks, that all accumulates. You might end up doing, 20% more over a big cycle. And that's what you want to achieve. Not big jumps in small sections, but a nice progressive jump over the entire training plan that you've got.
And all while staying injury-free.
No, exactly. And that's where the easy runs come in, because you're going to be recovered and you're trying to apply as little stress as possible. Do as much as you can, as little stress, but also bear in mind that you've got a sweet spot and don't get out of that sweet spot.
Your total volume of training is obviously important. And that begs the question of how long is long enough? Watch this video next to discover why it's the long runs that actually make you faster. In it, we'll share what works, but more importantly, what works for you.